My name's Jeff O'Keefe. I'm the executive director of Zen Peacemakers, and this is another offering in the format that we refer to as Peacemaker Circles. And every week, at least once a week, sometimes we have two a week, we try to offer a program with a guest that's in a topic that is really around the mandala, if you will, or around the circle of Zen Peacemaker focus topics. And we all know what these are. They could be environment, they could be racism, they could be refugees, hunger, homelessness, war and peace, conflict, end of life, the arts, pure dharma, etc. So just to let everybody know what we're doing. If you happen to be here for the first time, please do go to our website and subscribe to the newsletter. It's free, and that's the way you'll find out what we're doing. And we try to stay very active with these. So if you are new, welcome. Nice to see you. I'm really pleased today to have our guest, our new friend, Elias Diaz from the Holy Land Trust, who I don't know, Elias, a month ago, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, we got connected and had a really nice conversation, and we moved fairly quickly. And as of today, I believe everything's done. Holy Land Trust is now an affiliate of Zen Peacemakers, so we have an affiliate relationship and a mutual partnership that I'm really happy about. I'm not going to say much about Holy Land Trust because that's what Elias is here to do. But I really so appreciate having gotten to learn about this great organization and the really, really unique approach to conflict and war and violence that they take. I can't speak for anybody else. I'll speak as an American who consumes, regular news. We don't hear about all of the details of various groups and different approaches and how they are working to solve the problems in Palestine, Israel, Gaza, the West Bank, and it's too bad because it's really rich, it's really nuanced, and you're going to hear this as Elias explains what they're doing. I do want to before I hand over, please bookmark holylandtrust.org, holylandtrust.org, and this you can learn a lot more after our presentation today. You can learn a lot more about what Holy Land Trust does. And by the way, it's a beautiful website, and there are opportunities there for support and so forth as well. So with that, I want to say welcome and thank you, Elias. I so appreciate you being here and appreciate being new friends. And I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll mute myself. Thank you.
No, thank you, Jeff, and thank you everyone for joining tonight and giving me this opportunity and platform to share and to be a new friend for the Zen community here. I have, very long friendship with many of Zen peacemakers around the world. Maybe some of you are here. I can't recognize the faces, but I'm sure, during my journey with Holy Land Trust, I have met many Zen peacemakers around the world. And I will share more about this and my experience in the Zen Peacemaker Retreat. So, by the way, actually, our website is still, we'll have a new version of our website soon. So just keep following or keep checking our website. The website that we have currently, we will have a lot of modification and the new programs will be updated soon. So yeah, just I want to share. I mean, first, thank everyone for joining tonight, and from my heart, thank you for your openness to listen. And I invite you to open your heart and just to listen with an open heart, without judgment, and just to take it, take what I'm sharing, and just try to think, what does it mean of a Palestinian living in the West Bank. I'm here, I'm talking with you from Bethlehem. Bethlehem is a little town in the West Bank, just 10 kilometers, like 5 miles south of Jerusalem. Living here all my life. I was born and raised in this town. I am a Palestinian. I introduce myself as an Arab Palestinian Christian. This sometime for many of internationals, it doesn't make sense. How come you're an Arab, Palestinian, and Christian? So I introduce myself as an Arab because I was born and raised in one of the 22 Arab countries. We have 22 Arab nations here. Palestine is one of the Arab countries. So my heritage, my culture, my language, my mother tongue is Arabic. So I belong to the Arabic culture and traditions. So I introduce my cultural identity as an Arab. And then my nationality is Palestinian. I was born in Palestine. I hold a Palestinian ID, Palestinian passport. So I introduce myself as a Palestinian. And then I am Christian by faith. I was born to a Christian family here in Bethlehem. And Christians are the minority of this land. But I always say we are the indigenous. We are one of the indigenous communities that we've been living here since thousands of years. We are not a group of people that converted through one of the white missionaries that they came to the Middle East. This is also some of the misunderstanding that the Christians of the Middle East are new. But we are actually here, we have thousands of years of history and connected with this land. And we converted you guys, we have started the Christianity here, and then we spread it all over to everywhere. So yeah, I started this introduction just to give you an idea about identities, because identities are very important here. When you meet someone in the Middle East, when you meet someone in Israel, Palestine, they introduce themselves based on their religion and their nationality. And this is actually part of our, who we are. And this is actually where all the problems start. When you put yourself in a group and then start, doing everything that you can to protect and to fight for your nation, for your people. And that's actually, I see it actually the main core of division between people when you start labeling yourself. And for me now, I introduce myself as I am human. I belong to human race. And these identities and labels were given to me after, and people actually created these labels and identities on us. So as I born and raised in the West Bank and Bethlehem, I was witnessing every day something called the Israeli military occupation. And for me, witnessing the Israeli military every day in my life and seeing these people speaking in Hebrew, and they have always these Jewish symbols, like kippah, Star of David. And for me, this created something that I want to know, who are they? Like, they are different than me. Those occupiers, that they are different than my religion, different than my nation. They speak different language. And this is actually where it created a lot of conflict and questions in my life, like who are they? And I never get an answer because, in our school, there was no history classes. I was, as I said, everything was controlled by the Israeli military system in the West Bank. And also there was a confusion for me when I used to go to the church and open the Bible and read and pray for what is called Israel in the Bible. God bless those who bless Israel. And that's actually also created another question in my life, like why we pray for our enemy. I see, all these soldiers, all those soldiers that they are coming and invading our city, arresting my father and killing my friends. They are the Israeli soldiers, while in the church we are praying for Israel. And that was also another conflict, that why we are doing this. So I never got a real clear answers until I went through different journeys and process to understand what is the conflict about. I don't want to make my story long, but I will try to make it short. But I'm trying to give like this is where my background is. Like I grow up in a place of conflict, questions, divisions, and identities, religion identities, national identities. We never got an answer. Like, and all what I got to understand that I have to remain strong, resilience, to be, fight for your right and for your existence here. And you have to fight all the threat that is coming from outside. And my mother was always reading the Bible and tell me, you have to love your enemy. And this is also like, what does it mean to love your enemy? Loving your enemy is something, it's a big responsibility that we as a Christian got. Like, what does it mean to love your enemy? Those who are actually occupying us, arresting, and dehumanizing us. So I got to know, I went through different, I like studied, ended up studying in Bethlehem University, tourism management. So my educational background is tourism management because I thought one day, we are living in a touristic place and, we receive millions of tourists. It's the best thing to do is work in tourism. But unfortunately, in the year 2000, when everything collapsed by the starting of the second intifada, like the second uprising, when the Palestinians decided to start their uprising against the Israeli occupation in September 2000, and everything were collapsed. I don't know if you remember also the first Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement that was signed in 1995. And that was also a major event that took place in Israel and Palestine when the Palestinian and Israeli decided to sign their first peace agreement in 1995. And that was a shock for many people, not because, because everyone was looking for peace. And we were shocked that the agreement did not bring the real peace that we are looking for. It was bringing more division, more separation between Israelis and Palestinians on the ground. As a Palestinian Christian, I used to go to Jerusalem every day, every Sunday to pray in the church in Jerusalem. After the peace agreement, I was denied to get this right. I need to get a permit from the Israeli military to cross the borders and the checkpoint to go to Jerusalem. So these facts on the ground that was created after the peace agreement created a real division between Israelis and Palestinians. There was no encounter between people. It was all about border security and land control. And that was actually led us to the second intifada in the year 2000, when the uprising started and everything collapsed and went in a wrong direction, that violence was, the main, the major thing that was happening, like militant, military fighting, invasion, and killing in both sides. And that time, I heard about Holy Land Trust, which is a Palestinian organization that was founded 26 years ago. The Holy Land Trust was founded in 1998, which is 26 years ago. And the Holy Land Trust was founded in the time when everyone was talking about peace. If you remember, I just shared about the first peace agreement that was signed between Israel and Palestine, 1995. Everyone was expecting that finally Palestinian and Israeli will live side by side in peace without violence. But we found out that things on the ground was totally different than what peace means. That the division, the border, checkpoint, separation, Palestinians are not allowed anymore to go to Jerusalem. Israeli Jews are not allowed to come to Palestinian area. So the peace agreement created more pieces on the ground by dividing the land and classifying it according to their needs. So Holy Land Trust was founded at that time in 1998, just to address all these challenges and to really understand what is the core of the violence and what is the main motivator of the conflict between Israel and Palestine. And how can we address these challenges? Like, what we are trying to understand and answer one question: what have happened in the history that shifted the relationship between Arabs and Jews? Because if you look at the history before 1948 and even before that, 1930s, 1920s, Arabs and Jews used to live together side by side in peace and harmony, until something happened in the history that shifted this relationship between friendship to enemy. So we as an organization, we try to understand this root, the roots of the violence and where it comes from. And to understand this, we need to understand the history of both nations, the Israeli and the Palestinian. If you look at the Israeli, or like the Jewish history, and what happened to the Jew in Europe and the Holocaust, and how this Holocaust is, created the trauma, the fear among the Jewish nationality that still exists until today. Like, people are afraid that, they are the minority, they need security, and what happened in the Holocaust, never again. And when Israel was founded, the State of Israel was founded in 1948, it was the answer for many Jewish people that now we have a safe place to live and no more Holocaust. And this actually, we look at the trauma that the Jewish people are having and carrying from the Holocaust time until the foundation of the State of Israel, when it was a response and an answer for many traumatic people, that they are looking for a safe place to live and for security and for, to protect their nation and protect their identity. And if you look at the other side of the history, if you look at the Palestinian history, how the Palestinians were living in 1948 in their own villages, living in peace, side by side with the Jewish neighbors, and suddenly the creation of the State of Israel, that the Jewish Haganah and the Jewish military came and they kicked and killed thousands of Palestinians and created what we called it the Nakba in 1948, when thousands of Palestinians being kicked out of their original homes, and 526 villages being destroyed or expelled totally to create the state of Israel. So this actually action or this event create another trauma on the Palestinian side, that the Palestinians are traumatized from the Jewish people, and they see the Jewish people as a threat for their existence. And we say never again. So if you look at both sides are traumatized, both sides, they are holding fear. And, you know, and I'm sure like if you, you understand that trauma always manifests in a different way, that and the behaviors of people, the reaction. So both sides are traumatized that this trauma is transferred or transport in a way, in a negative way, that people are very aggressive, very violent. They want to protect themselves in all means or anything that they have. So as an organization, we try to highlight and acknowledge that trauma that still exists, and we cannot talk about peace before dealing with the national, with the collective and national trauma that exists between both sides. So now I want you to connect with my personal story. As a Palestinian living in the West Bank, I used to encounter the Israeli Jewish people. So I was traumatized, and I was, totally traumatized from the Jewish people, from the Hebrew language, because the Hebrew language is the language of the military, the language of the enemy, and everything with Judaism remind me with the occupation. Every Jewish symbol is a reminder of the occupation. And the same with the Israeli, like they see everything is a reminder of their Holocaust. Like there is a threat that is happening, and we need to protect ourselves. So as an Holy Land Trust, we believe that fostering peace and justice, and having a lasting and just peace in the Holy Land requires healing and transformation for individuals and collective people here to heal their trauma, their pain, because we believe if you are traumatized, you are in fear. Fear is the main motivator of violence, because fear motivates violence, and violence, we use it in a different way. And we need to heal and transform these. And before talking about two-state or one state and borders, security, we cannot talk about this if we have traumatic, and trauma exists and traumatic nations here. So I joined Holy Land Trust in 2007, 17 years ago. In 2007, I was 26 years old. And I joined them as a program coordinator. And in that time, I heard, Holy Land Trust is an Palestinian organization that is promoting nonviolence and, trying to lead a grassroots movement for nonviolence to end the occupation, to fight the injustice. And then I got to understand that also Holy Land Trust is focused about trauma and personal transformation. So we work in three different areas, like trauma and personal transformation that I spoke about. And then we are focusing on nonviolence as the main tool of resisting the injustice. So we were one of the leading Palestinian organizations promoting nonviolence as a tool to fight for justice and to stand against the injustice. In the third area, we work in advocacy, where we try to advocate for peace and justice and to end the occupation through our international friends. Like we organize fact-finding trips to Israel and Palestine, where international can come and meet Israelis and Palestinians to get first-hand stories to understand what's happening here. So these are the three main areas of Holy Land Trust. And when I joined them as a program coordinator for the advocacy, for the travel and encounter, where I used to organize trips for Americans and Europeans to come here to visit, the Israel and Palestine, to meet organizations, to meet people, to stay with families. And I was asked to organize a trip for a delegation, American delegations, that they are coming to Bethlehem for 2 days. And I found out that this delegation is an American Jew. Like they are all Jewish people coming to visit Bethlehem. And my first reaction was, very, aggressive. Like, no, I don't want to work with Jewish people. That's a taboo. Like, because this is the trauma that it was reacting, because I'm a person who are traumatized, that I label all the Jew as an enemy. I label all the Jew as a soldiers. From my past experience with the Jewish people was military and occupation. So my behavior was rejection. Like, no, I don't want to work with them. Like, I don't want to meet with them, with the Jewish people, because, it's, out of fear, out of anger. But then after a long conversation, I found out that that there is an American Jew, that they are coming here to understand the situation, to meet Palestinian, to meet Israeli, and they have nothing to do with the occupation. And that's actually my first transforming journey, when I got to distinguish between Judaism and Israel and Zionism. And what Israel is doing doesn't mean that all the Jews agree with that. And Israel does not represent the Jewish people. And many Jewish people, they are pro-justice, pro-peace. They are fighting for freedom and for equality for everyone. And this is all, I got to understand this, difference between the Israeli soldiers who are fighting on using the name of Judaism, using the name of Israel, and those those Jewish people that they are living in Europe and in the US, and they are totally disagree with the action of Israel. And that's actually was my first transformation journey, where I got to distinguish and I got to meet many Jewish people. After that, I got to, and I used to organize this monthly trips for rabbinical students. It's it's a program called the Encounter Program, which is an American Jewish program that they bring American Jew to Israel to study in a rabbinical schools. And we used to organize trips for those students to come and meet the Palestinian, to get to know the Palestinian and how the Palestinians are living, and to break the barriers between them. So that's actually was my first, as I said, transformation journey. And then the second one was when I got invited in 2008 for a peace program. That is a Swedish organization invited Israeli and Palestinian young people to meet and talk about the future vision for Israel and Palestine. And this meeting was, taking place in Sweden, not in Palestine or Israel. So we had to fly all the way from, as a Palestinian, I'm not allowed to fly from Tel Aviv. So I had to take a flight from Jordan. And then the Israeli, they had to fly from Tel Aviv, and we got to meet in Sweden in a small village called Umeå, north of Stockholm. And that actually was the first time in my life, after 27 years, was my first time that I meet an Israeli, not a soldier, like Israeli civilians. That we got to be in the first hotel I mean, we got to be together in one hotel and we got to meet and talk. But I'm sorry to say that the conversation was not really healthy because both sides, that we are both coming from a traumatic, background, that we see each other as a difference. We label each other as an enemy. And all the conversation was that who want to prove who's right and who's wrong. All my conversation was pointing the fingers on the Israeli side and telling them that you are wrong and I am right. And the same that the Israeli, they were pointing the fingers on me. I am wrong, they are right. And this is how the conversation goes between Israelis and Palestinians. When we talk about peace programs, when we bring Israelis and Palestinians together, all the conversation is about pointing the fingers on each other. And after this program, I said, no more peace programs for me. I'm not going to be in this situation. So as an organization, we have decided that the peace programs that we are taking is not about bringing Israelis and Palestinians in a 5-star hotels outside Palestine or Israel. It's actually, we need to bring them for a healing and transformation journey. We need to create the space, the safe place, a space where Israelis and Palestinians can face their own trauma. They can face their own fear. And how can you overcome your fear and you can see a shared future, like a shared vision for the future. And this is why we have developed a program called From Dialogue to Action. It focuses on healing the trauma by bringing Israelis and Palestinians together in a space, in a safe place where we use nonviolence communication, we use mindfulness, spiritual techniques, meditation as a tool of bringing people as one, to see each other as a human and to listen with an open heart, without judgment, without pointing the fingers that he's right or he's wrong. So we had this program where we brought Israelis and Palestinians in a healing journey with different techniques, open the heart, that we found out that we are both victim of the same system. We are both having the same pain, same feeling, and we are not different. My pain is not more important than your pain. We are both are traumatized, and we label each other in a way that we want to ignore each other. We want to ignore, and we don't want to talk, we don't want to meet, and we just want to, block. But when you open the space and you just open your heart and open with an, listen with an open heart, and you see that your pain is really my pain. And that's actually what led us to an action. And this is why we call it From Dialogue to Action, because I think we're done with dialogues. No more dialogues. We've been negotiating for the last 75 years without any progress action. So now it's a time for action. It's a time to bring Israelis and Palestinians to face their fear, to challenge their fear and to overcome their fear, and to go for an action to end all the injustice that is happening here, and to call for equal rights for both sides. And this is actually what our vision is, that we want to foster peace and justice. But we cannot do that without taking a real responsibility and action from Israelis and Palestinians to work together and to take an action to stop everything that, all this injustice policies that is happening. And after that, I was invited by the Zen peacemakers for Auschwitz-Birkenau retreat. And that was my turning point, in my life, where I got to spend 10 days in Auschwitz with Bernie and Eve. and it was really an eye-opening for me being in Auschwitz as a Palestinian, to just be there. For me, it gives me a goosebump, like being in the concentration camps and to learn about the history of the Jewish people and what happened to the Jewish people in there, and how this ongoing trauma still affecting everyone. That, when I got to the concentration camps, there was a lot of flashback, like, on seeing the walls, watching towers, checkpoints. It all was a reminder of my life in the West Bank. As a Palestinian living in the West Bank, surrounded by the walls, surrounded by the checkpoints and the watching towers, monitor cameras 24 hours around my village. It says that, it's opened a lot of question in my heart, that's what's happened in the past, it's still happening today, and it's never again, but never again for everyone. And I got to see that all these young Israelis, that they come in a school trip to Auschwitz and Birkenau. I saw these 13, 14 years old Israeli kids are carrying their Israeli flag. They walk in the camps with their Israeli teachers. They tell them, okay, this is what happened in the past, never again. And imagine those 13, 14 years old kids, they come back to Israel, they join the military after their high school, and then they become a soldier. They come and they serve in the West Bank. They stand on the checkpoint and they look at me as I am the Palestinian, I am a threat. I am the new threat for their existence. And they have to fight, they have to do everything they can to protect their nation, their identity, and their existence. So the circle of trauma keep going on as long as Israel keep feeding the fear among the Israeli people. They keep feeding the fear that never again, and we have to do everything we can to protect Israel and Judaism. So that trip to Auschwitz also opened my heart, and just to see, okay, like, how can we work on stopping this circle of feeding the fear, and how can we transform and heal the trauma of the Israelis and transform it, that they can see me as a human, because I don't want them to label me as an enemy. I don't want them to label me as I am the new Nazi that I want to kill and push all the Jew to the sea. So as an organization, we always focus on, what does it mean to love your enemy? And loving your enemy, as I said before, it's not about going to an Israeli Israeli people and give them a flower or tell them I love you. Loving your enemy is you have to put yourself in the shoes of your enemy. You have to go into a deep healing and transformation journey with your enemy. You need to understand the trauma and the fear and the challenges that your enemy is going through to help them overcome it and to see you as a human. And this is actually what we do and what we are looking for as an organization, to bring an Israeli and Palestinian to put themselves in the shoes of each other, to understand the pain and the trauma, and how can we overcome this and to take action for our better future that we do. I can talk forever, but I mean, that's actually the core work of Holy Land Trust. We are transforming trauma into hope, and this is actually our slogan. So as we work on transforming trauma into hope by bringing Israelis and Palestinians to overcome the trauma, In the same time, we cannot ignore the trauma that exists in the Palestinian community and how this trauma affects the daily life of the Palestinian. So we are responding to this by responding to the needs of the Palestinian and on a daily basis. For example, since October 7th took place, Palestinian and the West Bank been suffering a lot from economic crisis and lack of income. And we, as an organization, we were responding to the needs of the local people that they lost their jobs because in Bethlehem here, 80% of our income comes from tourism industry. And since October 7th, the tourism industry collapsed. So there is no income for the families here. So as kind of respond to this need, we provide them with a monthly food coupons or food parcels for the families that they lost their jobs. Because imagine yourself in the shoes of this family, like the family that they have no money to buy food for their children. They feel angry, desperate, they don't know what to do, and they will release this anger and this trauma in a negative way to the community. And once you stand with them, you show them comfort, you show them solidarity and support, this will be part of the healing and transformation for the families. At the same time, we do a project in Area C. 60% of the West Bank are fully controlled by the Israeli military. And in this area C, Palestinians are not allowed to build or construct or use their land. Many Palestinian families, they tried to build homes and their homes being demolished by the Israeli military because they consider this land as a military zone. But according to the peace agreement, this should be the land of establishing the future Palestinian state. So we have many home demolition issues in Area C, and as an organization, we come and rebuild these homes on the same place, same size, as a non-violence reaction that we respond to this policy in a non-violent way. And in the same time, we bring an international solidarity and Israeli also activists to join the Palestinian resistance against the Israeli military policies in the West Bank. For example, when we rebuild a house for a Palestinian, we have Israeli lawyers that they advocate for the case in favor for Palestinian in the Israeli military court. We have international organizations that they fund the building project. So we are trying to respond and transforming this trauma into hope. Like imagine the family and the children, they experienced the home demolition and they found themselves without a house and they have no place to go, no place to live. Like they feel desperate, angry. They always are, depressed and frustrated. And once you come and tell them, I want to build your house with a group of international volunteers, it's a transformation for them. It's a relief. It's a healing for them. When they show comfort, they show solidarity. So this kind of project that we do in the West Bank, responding to the needs of the Palestinian, even, like providing food parcels, building homes, creating a sustainable income for those families. Like in Area C, we also build greenhouses for farmers to have their own income. We work with women, with girls, with kids. Now we have the art therapy. Now also we use art as a tool, a very powerful tool for healing, like music, drama, dance, photography. So we have the art therapy project where we use art for children to release their trauma. So since October 7th, the trauma among kids being obviously increased. People are traumatized in Gaza and in the West Bank from what they have seen in the TV or from the sound of the F-16 and the bombs. So now we are using art as a way to heal and transform the kids, where we are trying to create a safe place for kids to release their anger in a positive way. So we're always looking for a positive change for the Palestinian. Maybe it's better to take maybe questions and answer. I don't want to keep talking because I think I can talk forever about all the projects, but maybe through our Q&A, I can answer maybe and talk more about the project that we are doing. But this is actually basically the core values of Holy Land Trust, where we focus on healing, transformation, non-violence, and advocacy for a better future. Yeah, so I don't want.
Thank you so much, Elias. I can help with the Q&A. And Reverend, I see you know how to do the electronic hand. There are people I can't see everybody because not everybody has their camera on. So if you'd like to speak, please raise your electronic hand. It's down under reactions on your screen. Reverend, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you very much, Elias. Do you say Elias? Yeah.
Yes. Elias.
That was very wonderful to hear that you're making these efforts. I know that in Ireland, this actually worked. They had groups where and they were also Buddhists. Norman Fisher is a Buddhist priest himself, and he's an Irish. And he went back to Ireland and he brought mothers together from both sides, Catholic and Protestant. And of course, this was very, very difficult at the time because they all had lost family and they saw each other as enemies. But they were sitting opposite each other just in silence. And then he asked them to speak and tell their stories, both sides. And they realized they had the same suffering. It was the same stories that were being told. And afterwards, they became friends. They were crying together and hugging, And I think that's the only way. But maybe I was wondering because if you're doing this as Israelis, you would already be the enemy for the Jewish people, right? I mean, that you can't avoid that. So is it possible to have a neutral person, or not person, but organization that could bring those together where they not feel threatened?
Yeah, so that's a really very good question, because that's a big challenge for us here when it's really hard to bring Israelis and Palestinians together for many reasons. For first, the meeting spaces. We are not, as a Palestinian, we are not allowed to go to Israel. Israelis are not allowed to come to Palestine. So meeting spaces is a challenge. Second challenge is both sides being criticized. As a Palestinian organization, we always been criticized by our own community for the word normalization. Normalization is a term that is really used in a bad way, that if you are a Palestinian working with Israeli, this means that you are normalizing your relation with the enemy. But actually, we are not doing that, because the main purpose of our work is to create a core group, a grassroots movement to take action to end the occupation, first to end the Israeli occupation, and to have a better solution for the future. So we do this recruitment with our Israeli, or we have an Israeli partner organization where they do recruit Israeli and we do recruit the Palestinian. But for somehow the Israeli and the Palestinian, that they come to these retreats, that they have the intention that they want to meet the others. Because, you know, we cannot get a random people, like we cannot invite random people that they, okay, let's bring them to meet an Israeli or Palestinian. And unfortunately, we do not have a third party that is willing to work on bringing the Israelis and Palestinians together. We are doing it as a Palestinian and Israeli together by ourselves. And it's really very challenging for us to recruit the people. Unfortunately, such programs is not on the list of funding for European Union or American governments. Like we have applied several times for the European Union and the USAID to fund such projects, but they have their own agenda, that they have their own things that they want to fund. They want to fund peace talks, you know, bringing people together, but with their own agenda. So I wish, you know, that we have a third party, you know, like an American organization or European organization, that they do fund or like establish a program where they can bring Israeli and Palestinian for deep healing and transformation, not for the sake of meetings, because we have many American organizations, they spend millions of dollars of bringing Israeli and Palestinian kids to go to the US to play soccer, to do camping together, to go on a trip together in a 5-star hotels. And those actually, but without any transformation and healing, without bringing this issue to the programs. Because, you know, I know many Israelis and Palestinians, they went like, I don't want to mention the name of the organization, but they spend millions of dollars per year on these programs without any, you know, change. And yeah, I wish we can find someone that they can really, you know, take the lead of play the mediator to bring Israelis and Palestinians from different backgrounds to come into this retreat. Yeah. Did I answer your question correctly, or yeah?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say maybe a faith organization like Buddhists could maybe make a difference, because they're not Jewish and they're not Christian and they're not Muslim.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good, really good suggestion. Yeah.
Thank you, Raymond. Francisca, I see you have your hand. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Elias, it's great to see you now. We have been emailing a couple of months ago, and I was very happy to support with my Sangha. So for me, a question came up now. You mentioned that it is important to transform the trauma and take action. Palestinians and Israelis together. You also mentioned that just conferences, speaking together is not enough. And you know, I attended a conference in 2006. I'm Swiss, and in 2006, there was also a conference where Israelis and Palestinians were meeting in Switzerland. So they said they need another place to be able to speak together, because it's not possible either in Israel or Palestine. But as you know, 2006, it's long ago. And like you said, speaking is not enough. But do you see a possibility how to take action together, Palestinians and Israelis, to overcome trauma, or to heal, to begin this healing of traumas together?
Yeah, thank you. So as part of our program From Dialogue to Action, that we've been working with Israelis and Palestinians to come together to heal their trauma, to see each other as a human, and to understand the right of others to exist and to fight for their right. So we as an organization, we understand that the main core of the main core problem to achieve peace in the future is the Israeli occupation on the West Bank and Gaza Strip. If the Israeli occupation continue, then there is no chance for achieving peace in the future. So part of the actions that we do, where after bringing Israelis and Palestinians together and to and then go into a deep transformation journey, this core group, they take action within the West Bank. For example, last year we have established a core group of environmental activists, Israeli and Palestinian environmental activists. They came to our project, our program. We did the healing, the trauma healing program and the nonviolence. And then this group, they went to the West Bank to meet the Palestinian communities and to understand the challenges that they are facing and the environmental challenges, and what is the impact of the occupation on the environmental issue, like water, land, air, because we understand that if the water in the West Bank is polluted by the Israeli military or from the Israeli occupation, it's going to be affecting both sides. We're going to have a polluted water. And the same for air and land. So these Israeli and Palestinian activists, they went to the Jordan Valley. They met several Palestinian communities that they are really facing a big challenge, environmental challenge from the Israeli settlers, Israeli settlements. For example, all the sewage water from the Israeli settlements goes into the Palestinian farming land. So this is a main threat. For example, another example, the water control. Palestinian, we don't have an access to water equally as an Israeli. If you come to Palestine, you will see that we have water, access to water twice a month, and we have to fill our water tanks to store it and keep and use it until we get it again. But if you go to an Israeli settlement, they have access to water 24/7, and they are taking the water from the Palestinian land. So yeah, just to make it short, this Israeli-Palestinian core group, they went to the Palestinian community, they understood that the challenges, and they took an action to respond to their needs. Like, for example, the Palestinian community in Jordan Valley, they have asked to have a water access to start farming their land and to have an agricultural project. So the Israeli and the Palestinian activists, they have installed water pipes from nearby spring in Jordan Valley, and they have provided the Palestinian farmers with water access to start cultivating their land. And we have helped building a greenhouse. And during the installation of the water pipes, the Israeli military came, and the Israeli activists were standing in front of the Israeli military and facing them and telling them, we are against this injustice policy. We want to help the Palestinians having same access to water as the Israeli settlers. And the same project that we did in South Hebron Hills. We had an Israeli activist, they came and they helped the Palestinian to install a solar panel for a Bedouin community that they have no right to get electricity into their community. But those Israeli activists were standing and facing their own policy to change their policy to help in favor for Palestinians. We've been working with the Center for Jewish Nonviolence. which is an American organization that they bring Jewish and Israeli volunteers for protective presence. We know we have many Palestinian communities in the West Bank. They are facing daily harassment and violence from the Israeli settlers, especially kids. When they go to school in the morning, they face daily Israeli harassment. Those Israeli activists, they walk with the kids to protect them from the settlers and from the Israeli soldiers. So these kind of actions that we are trying to take by joining the resistance, you know, the Israeli and Palestinian, we cannot end the occupation alone. We need Israeli and international to get involved in our resistance to fight against the injustice. So yeah, we have many examples. So now what's happening, you know, in Tel Aviv, all these demonstrations in the street, that they are raising their voice to end the occupation, calling for the right of the Palestinian. Those activists, I can recognize most of their faces. Many of those activists, they've been in this healing trauma programs, and they have decided, they understand that they have a responsibility and they need to take this responsibility, and they need to go to the street and raise their voice against their own, you know, to stand against their own government and their own policy for a better future. So this is actually a very quick example of what kind of action that the Israeli are taking after this program. You know, I can give many of such an example, but at least they challenge their fear, they overcome their fear. And I always say we use this methodology, nonlinear leadership, where we tell that all the humans are building their future decision based on their past experience. So all our decision that we made today is based on our past experience, and we have to, you know, overcome this fear and just to look at the possibilities that we have today, and how can we make the impossible possible from the possibilities that we have, and how we can, you know, we are standing on the edge. How can we overcome the fear? And just we need to jump. You know, overcoming your fear is just a decision that you need to make, to jump from the edge and to make the impossible possible. And this is actually the techniques that we are using when we organize Israelis and Palestinian, you know, meetings. We give them this nonlinear thinking and how can they see the future away from their past experience. Because this is actually how the human nature is. You know, we always decide on the future from our past experience. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Elias. I have deep respect for your work of Holy Land Trust.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Franziska. Dorothea, you have your hand? Welcome, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Elias, for this, for the sincerity, for the honesty, and just being here. I think Jeff earlier in his introduction, and excuse me if I'm misremembering, he mentioned that a lot of us here in the US, I'm in Brooklyn, don't hear this kind of work that's happening over there. And we hear a lot about, you know, just being enemies, the Palestinians and the Israelis just being enemies, that's it. And I'm wondering, are there any concrete ways, actions that we can right now do, or maybe plant the seeds of, in amplifying the work that you do and other organizations there that are solidarity work between Palestinians and Israelis? I don't know, maybe my question doesn't have an answer, but I just want to kind of see how we can amplify this. I work with the Buddhist Action Coalition, and a couple of newsletters ago, we sent out newsletters. We had a list of organizations of Palestinian Israeli solidarity action organizations, and that seems not enough to just put it in a newsletter. So please just offer, if you can, if you have any ideas on how we can amplify your work and other solidarity actions work, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this. Yeah. You know, that I always say that we are planting the seeds, and you're right. You know, we are planting the seeds, and I always say that I might not see the change in my lifetime. I'm 42 now, but I think the change will not be in my lifetime. But at least we have tried, and this is what I believe, that every human has a call, and we cannot remain silent against the injustice. All kind of injustice in this world is not about only Israel and Palestine. That as a human, we have a call that we need to behave in a way that you can be a good citizen, you know, by standing against the injustice, helping the marginalized, and all kinds of human, service. So for me, I always invite our international friends, not, okay, I can ask you, like, okay, you can do financial support. This is the easiest answer. Okay, just give your money to these organizations. But it's not about, just giving your money and support to the organization. It's about your responsibility and your action and the way you deal with all the injustice that is happening around the world. Speaking to your representative offices, your parliament members, your governments, take an action, like write a letter to inform the people about the injustice, about what's happening in the other part of the world. These kind of small action can make a change. After October 7th, I always say the only good thing that happened after October 7th, despite all this, genocide and massacres and violence that took place, the only good thing that was from October 7th is the international awareness. And the international community now, they got to understand more about the situation in Israel and Palestine. Because it didn't start in October 7th. It's 75 years of oppression, depression, occupation, violence, and the international community remains silent. There was no action from the international community until October 7th took place. After October 7th, we see all these huge demonstrations calling to end the occupation, freedom for everyone, calling for equality, for peace, for justice between Israelis and Palestinians. And this actually was the only positive thing. But it should not stop here, that every person should take an action by influencing other people. I know that if you're living in the US, maybe you say, okay, it doesn't affect me. As an American living in the US, I have everything I need. So it doesn't matter if Palestinian or Israeli are suffering. But it is matter because we are all connected. If we are a human beings, we are all one family. And if part, or we are one body, let's say, if part of your body is ill or sick, the other parts will be, also in pain or sick. So we are all connected, and that we have at least to do something, even like small, just talk to your Congress people, your senators, write a letter, inform them to take action, to change policy about their Israeli and Palestinian issue. Because we believe as a Palestinian, we see that the international community are, not really serious in solving the problem. They are just, I'm talking about the governments, the international government are just watching, they are not doing anything. Since October 7th, they are just watching. And they are not putting any pressure on Israel to stop the genocide and what's happening in Gaza. Yeah. That's my quick response.
Thank you, Elias. Dorothea, did that answer your question?
Yes and no. I was more about like really amplifying this Israeli-Palestinian solidarity work and actions that are happening, because we don't hear that here in the US. But I like I said, he may not have an answer now, but I'm just thinking of, we need to amplify this more. And I think for us in the US, for me at least, and for my organization, it's something that we will definitely take responsibility for. Thank you so much, because it's
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I think the only way that you can, as I said, invite us to, Zoom meetings, that we want, because, I'm planning to come to a speaking tour to the US, because we believe it's an important that our voice is heard for Americans. My last speaking tour in the US was maybe 5 years ago, that I went to churches, universities, synagogues, organization to talk about Holy Land Trust and the work we do. So maybe if you can invite us for a speaking event in the US, or maybe via Zoom link, maybe invite, so we have a weekly newsletter that sent out to our network. So if you can invite people to sign up for our newsletter, which is also free, people can get our news, share it with the people. Yeah, this is something that we would love to be engaged in. If you can organize like speaking, speaking event via Zoom, or when I come to the US, if you can organize for me to come and speak in places, I would love to do that. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And Dorothea, I'll tell you also, I mean, it's a small step, isn't it? But we're doing that a little bit right now today. And in fact, we record all of these sessions. So in a few days, the recording will be available on our website. And Dorothea, you are welcome through BAC to link to this if you'd like. And again, these are small steps, but this is, everybody's heard that story of you take a penny, 1 cent, and double it 20 times.
Yeah.
And most people don't think that that's very much money, and it's well over $1 million. So this amplification of the message is something we can all do. If everybody here shares a link to this talk, and Elias' description of the situation was just really complete and profound. If everybody here shares this with their networks, that's times 100 already, or more. And so these are little things we can do. Jacqueline, I see your hand.
Yes. There we go. Yes. Well, I was very interested in what you were saying about the people coming together, but your last statement gave me pause, because Dorothea was asking about how can we amplify the message of people coming together, and you spoke of well, go to your senators and have them, and all of this. And we're getting a lot of that message in the United States, and it's having mixed results. Because there is anti-Semitism growing also in the United States. So I think that it's really important to amplify a specific piece of what you're saying, which is people coming together, not us telling Israelis to stop occupying and all that, even though we may feel that. We hear a lot of that, and that's nothing new. But what's new in what you're saying is the stories of people coming together to protect their neighbors and to love their neighbors, rather than focusing on the political, which is a top-down kind of a thing. The bottom up is where I see the positive action and a message that I think is really important to amplify. So I just wanted to throw that in there because as a Jewish American, it's not very effective what's going on in America, to my estimation, not only because the country isn't coming to the defense of the Palestinians, but also because it's stirring up negativity and dissension between people. And we have a lot of that going on here now. We need more stories about people coming together and less about, let's change that person to do the right thing or that sort of thing. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, thank you. I appreciate your comment here, and I appreciate your, this, because I believe, it's important to highlight and that the stories of people coming together. There's thousands of stories of Palestinians and Israelis. Even there's love stories, people they don't know about. Palestinian fall in love with Israeli Jew or vice versa. There's many positive stories that is happening here, and people are taking responsibility. Like even after October 7th, and all these bad things that happened on October 7th, I still get messages from my Israeli friends just to check on me, like, how are you doing? Do you need anything? How is the situation in Bethlehem? Like, we still have this positive, energy, despite all the negative situation we are living in. But out of these programs, we still have, this positive that people don't talk about it, because now everything is controlled about that. Okay, we need to end what's happened, but yeah, I totally agree that we need to share, and we have many stories to share, and we have many partner organizations that they also do the same work. Like, for example, our partner Combatant for Peace. I don't know if you heard about them. They're an amazing group of Israeli Palestinian. They do work together. There's many positive stories, and I would love to maybe create this through the Zen Peacemaker. Maybe they can be a hub for a place to create stories and share it with your network. Maybe it can be the beginning here. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacqueline. We have just a couple more minutes here. If anyone else has a question or a comment. Renan, I can't read that fast. You wanna unmic again? It's okay if you'd like to.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say there are organizations here who really want to change things in that state of Israel, because they feel that it's unjust, but then automatically you're an enemy of the Jewish people, and I don't think that's right. So as soon as you have some sympathy for the Jewish people, then and you feel they should have their own place somewhere, then you are an enemy of the Palestinians. So it's so automatic that you're being put in one or the other camp. We really need a place that's, that's not either or.
Yeah, and this is actually one of our challenge here. Like if you are pro-Israel, you're against Palestine. If you're pro-Palestine, you're against Jew. But this is not true, and even the anti-Semitic that Jacqueline talked about, it's something new was created, like we are Semitic as a Palestinian. I consider myself as I am Semitic, so I cannot be against myself. But yeah, I always say, like, if you are against Israel, if you are against the injustice, does not mean that you are against Jew. There's a big difference, that between Jewish people and what Israel is doing. And the same here, like when you think, if you are against Hamas, doesn't mean you are against all the Palestinians, because not all the Palestinians are Hamas. It's very simple here. So, but they're trying to create these terms to label people and to put them in a corner where they cannot function, and I've been rejected to give a lecture in Germany simply because I'm Palestinian, and they talk about the reality there. I've been accused as anti-Semitic, but even I am a Palestinian, and I am Semitic, and I'm just talking against the injustice. I'm talking against the injustice that is happening here. It's not. I'm talking against the Jew, and here I'm not here to say I'm against the Jew or but yeah, that's a good comment.
Thank you. Bruce, we have just a couple more minutes if you'd like to give a short one.
Yeah, thanks, Ilias. Appreciate everything you said. And I think you just highlighted it in your last comments that labels limit, and leadership does not necessarily represent the people. And I think that's very evident with a lot of the people in Israel. Can you speak to the people of Palestine and their ability or awareness to deal with whatever leadership that they have?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I can say there's a lack of leadership in the Palestinian community, and this is also one of our main focus as an organization is how can we create a leadership. One of our challenges as a Palestinian that we don't have a leadership with a vision that the leadership that was created here after the peace agreement, it was a leadership that they are just taking the lead of managing people's life on a daily basis, providing the services. But there's, a lot of that maybe can be off the record because this Zoom is recorded. But I'm frankly saying, that we have a corrupted leader, yeah, and we are not happy with our leadership, and we need to find a new leaders from the young generations, that they have a clear vision for the future, clear, yeah, just clear strategy. And we've been, as I said, we've been negotiating for the last 75 years with Israel, and we get nothing. And things are going worse every day. And people are, the Palestinian people, they got, I don't know how to explain it in English, but, our expectation 10 years ago was much more than our expectation today. Like we were talking about two-state solution, West Bank and Gaza living side by side next to Israel. And then now we were talking about, Jerusalem as the capital for Palestinians. Now we are talking about only the basic thing for Palestinian is, and they're, when they woke up in the morning, if the road is open to leave the city or not. That's their main concern today. If like tomorrow I'm going to Ramallah, I have meeting in Ramallah, which is another city like 1 hour from Bethlehem. The only thing I'm thinking about today is how can I get from Bethlehem to Ramallah, crossing the checkpoint. I don't know if the checkpoints are open or not. So, like Palestinians now are thinking about, their daily life, without any expectation. We don't have a vision. We don't have a leadership that they are taking the people to the right place. We are dealing with our life day by day. Like how can we make it to the next day? That's what the people are thinking about. So we do not have clear strategy, clear vision for the future. And we are lacking of leadership, and that's, totally right. Yeah. No, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. And Elias, I think we're at the end of our time now. So I think we should wrap up, and we've had some people who have had to leave too, so this is a good time. I so appreciate you sharing this, and I think it was educational for everyone. Certainly was for me. I really most appreciated when you were talking about sort of your evolution into this way of thinking or this approach to making peace, that you were really open about kind of the changes, 3 changes in your heart. That was very, very touching for me, and it really opened me up to hear what you had to say. So thank you so much. And thank you all for being with us today. And let's do the best we can to share this message with our networks, and maybe we can see some change in our lifetimes.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And just to let you know that in 2 days I'm leaving to Switzerland to join the Zen Peacemaker retreat with, maybe, I don't know if you know, Anna Gama. She's from Switzerland in Lucerne. It will be my first Zen Peacemaker meditation retreat, silent meditation. And I'm very excited to do that. And by the way, we do, as an organization, we always here do a spiritual gathering where we invite our friends, Israelis and Palestinians. We do meditation together in the nature, and nothing since October 7th. But before October 7th, we used to meet regularly as a Palestinian and Israeli, doing spiritual retreats in the desert here. And this is what we are planning with Anna Gama for next March. We are bringing 10 Israeli, 10 Palestinian, and 10 European to do a 5 days retreat in the desert in Bethlehem. So that's why I'm going to Switzerland in 2 days to organize this. And thank you for your listening with an open heart and giving me this space to share, because I believe also sharing is part of the healing. When people want to speak and to hear, and this is why we are the voice of the voiceless. This is what we say for Holy Land Trust. We always try to carry the voices of the voiceless to our international friends. So please sign up for our newsletter, and please share with your friends. And also, if maybe I can share my email. If you have any more questions, I'll be happy to answer by email.
Maybe you could put it in chat, Elias.
Yes, yeah. I just want
I'll
to.
also be sending out a post-event email so I can include that information.
Good, thanks, Chloe. And a link to Holy Land Trust website, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Very good. Okay, Elias, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Stay healthy, stay safe, make peace. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.